Good evening. My name is Storm. These are my night musings.
It's July 17th, 2017. I'm considering all the information that I can get on the ET presence on this planet, on Earth. Some would say, where else? You'd be amazed at how many where else's I actually set foot on. It's kind of overwhelming sometimes. I'm putting together my thoughts for a questing thought. I need information. And generally my way of obtaining information, remote viewing, whatever, is to send out what I call a questing thought. A thought that has a question on it. I pose my question to the universe, bounce it out there like a sonar beam, and something pings back and I have information on something. And that's what I'm looking for, but there's just so much. I mean, muggles are still running around talking about, are we alone in the universe? And it's kind of like, what the hell do you think that was flying by? But some of it is not quite so simple. Of all the races and everything that I am made to understand, and a lot of this resonates with me, it's not just taking somebody else's word. The only reason I listen to their stories to begin with is because parts of their stories I know for or have experienced for myself. And I can't imagine, for the longest time I believed it was just something imaginary, but I was made to believe that. And I thought it was just my imagination. And based on reality, because there is some real, I mean, I never doubted the existence of aliens. But it's not just a matter of Nords running around the earth. There's the reptilians, the mantids, and I was, my experience with the triangular thingy up my nose was by the Greys or the Emerthers, or they could have been androids, EBEs, androids created by either the Greys, the Tall Whites, the Nords, or God knows what. Because a couple of them use such things or makes androids or such servants. So the Emerther, yeah, they either could have been real Emerther. I'm inclined to believe that they were Emerther. Just something about looking into those eyes. Was not an android. There was another soul I was touching. And the thing about the androids is they don't contain souls. They just remote operated. Well, I was looking into the soul of something. I soul gaze when I look into people's eyes. When I look into anyone or anything's eyes, I soul gaze. So I'm inclined to believe they were Emerthers. But then as I research things and hear more and more about the Nords, and I remember a number of other circumstances where somebody has mistaken me for a Nord and I didn't understand. I want to have those features. So it's kind of like, okay, a quick look, yeah, how many tall blondes are you seeing? Geez, go to Hollywood, go to Sweden, Denmark, Norway, any of those places. Crawl them, but you can't throw a rock without hitting one. But I'm also hearing that these Nords, and maybe even the early Danaans, because they call them Fays, which is another ET word, like angel, demon, something, someone, thing not of this world. But yet, in some of the legends of the Fae, they have been here long before human beings were. So, not of this world, yes and no. Kind of a slightly different realm, but they've been of this world of a very, very longer than we have. immeasurably so. All right, now we have Dracos or reptilians running around under the ground. We have USOs, unidentified submersible objects, these flying saucers and shit that just zip right into the oceans and the lakes. Don't even slow down. It's just amazing. But there's the undersea bases. There's the one we know, I think off Catalina. Actually, it's more not off Catalina so much as it's more like in a little cove around near LA there, or Santa Barbara, somewhere around that vicinity, Southern Cal, just off the coast. You can even Google it and see evidence of what would be a very large, incredibly saucer base. Um, but these are not unusual. We find these massive megalithic structures that we're not even able to build today all over the place. Super ancient, super old. We see similar structures on the surface of Mars. All right, so we know we had an advanced interstellar and a global civilization. We know that one of the primary races of these royalties were these large creatures with the large elongated skulls. They're found all over the world, such as is in Peru. They're very common there, but they've also been found in Egypt and China and Europe and so there was an ancient race that was capable of these incredible architectural buildings that last for thousands of years. We don't build anything like that now. You know, if you left a building untended 100 years, it would be almost unrecognizable. You know, I mean, just in perfect order, just left it. Nobody could even touch it for 1,000 years. You wouldn't recognize what's left as a building compared to what was built in ages past. Now, so we have this advanced global civilization. The elite want to keep that. They go to great pains to keep any information like that out of the textbooks, out of the colleges, out of where anybody could study it and give it more thought. And you'd think somebody'd want to know, not cover it up. There's a reason for it. There's something that they're invested in, seriously vested in, that they are so desperate not to let it out. Other countries are thinking they want to talk about the UFO question. And United States is the biggest bully, by the way, and they make all kinds of threats and withhold all kinds of funds and everything to other countries that actually divulge their own UFO information. So something is very seriously wrong here. There's also the evidence of the early lunar attempts where they launched a missile into the surface of the moon. There's a number of things that always struck me about the surface of the moon. You'd see these really large craters and these really small craters. And you notice something when a big rock like that goes slamming into something. It slams in hard, it slams in deep. And none of those seem to go deeper than about 1 or 2 kilometers. Even the really big ones, you'd think there'd be a really big freaking deep ditch there. And there's not. It goes so far to a flat bottom, like a plane. Like a flat plane. A really huge rock like that hits and stops 2 kilometers down, and that's just not natural. Okay, so anyway, I go back to the hitting them with the nukes. They drop their missile cargoes and shit like that when they're experimenting with ways to land on the moon and explore and all that other kind of crap. And they hit it, and they had set up seismographs, and found out this thing rang like a gong for hours and hours after this hit. So that's telling me we got a rather hollow structure, or it's not solid through and through. That's for damn sure. You know that's straight physics. It's not solid through and through, regardless of whether we're talking about something some super aliens built or some kind of natural oddity. All right. But another thing, the moon rocks, high helium-3 and high, almost pure titanium. On the surface, these are elements that you find deeper down. You got to go through a lot of effort to get to mine and smelt these metals here. Uh, why would that be on? If the moon was actually a part of the Earth, it would be comprised of all the same things the Earth is, in about the same levels. You know, if it was a piece of molten magma that broke away, as some, academia likes to put it, and you have these hot balls of magma coming off of the sun, all right, and they whirl out and they form and they cool and they make planets. And okay, so you got the moon going around the Earth, all right. Even if it wasn't big enough to hold an atmosphere, it would still be the exact same bedrock as we are, as we have, all right. And it's not. Okay, so obviously the moon's a stranger, so the other theories and things that I'm hearing are what you'd call conspiracy theories, have a ring of truth to them. And these are the things I pay attention to. The same with some of the stuff about the aliens. Now, accordingly, the Dracos or the reptilians don't fly around in craft, but they do have shape-shifting tendencies. There's a variety of them, species of them. And they live inside the Earth and have been here since millions of years, hundreds of millions of years before us. All right, so they're actually more native than we are, and not particularly nice, I hear. All right, what I need to know, my questing thought, what races are involved? Who's using the moon as a duck blind for a genetic experiment here on Earth? I know Cro-Magnon man is not naturally developed here. He was made. He was spliced. He was hybridized. He was something else, and Sasquatch or Yeti or whatever the hell was going on in that particular part of the globe. That's what I see. That's what I understand. That's what my perception and my curiosity has brought me thus far. But I need to know what species live here. See, because when we evolve, people tend to think of it as, okay, we get to a certain part and we'll be accepted into the galactic thing here. And it's kind of like, actually, it's more complicated than that. Because you got another race, at least one other race. I've always suspected a couple other races. I suspect the cetaceans of being an intelligent race you got to deal with. All right, when you're talking about people with free will, souls with free will, intelligence and stuff like that, those in particular I see. It so much so it troubles me a little bit. Not in a bad way. I'm not xenophobic. I'm not xenophobic about the reptilians, the Greys, the Nords, or anything else. Now, evidently, Nords have settled here, or what we call Nords. And those of us that are blonde and all that other kind of stuff, we are descendants of them. Actually, more than just the blondes. So I think we all probably got more than a bit of that. That's probably the most genetically compatible with the hominids like the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, and all that were already populating the Earth, right? Whether naturally or implanted themselves as basic stock by somebody that was experimenting. You know, that moon's been there a long time, and they've been watching. It didn't just kind of come with the planet, you know. All right. So my questing thought is, exactly how many races, what types, what kind of politics we dealing with? Not necessarily politics, but cultural requirements and everything of races that are already established on the Earth. Because, see, we don't have to coexist with the rest of the galaxy. We got the rest of the galaxy living here on our Earth already. And we got to figure out how we're going to coexist with them. Can you? Why would you be afraid? Knowing that somebody next to you might be an alien. I take a look, and sometimes, you know, I look like my mom. I look like a lot of relatives. you put us, there's some differences though. And the differences aren't shallow. They're stunning. I'm smarter, I'm stronger, I'm bigger, I'm faster. By a large margin. So I've been tampered with, and then some. I have to know. I have to be able to understand how to help my own world, how to help my own people. And these are things that they're going to have to cope with. They're thinking, all right, we're going to, eventually the flying saucers are going to land maybe at airports and stuff like that. We're going to establish regular treaties and trade and travel and all that other kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, and, maybe there'll be a place where aliens live, and it's kind of, they're already here, they've been here. And it's kind of like, and we're the lab rats. Oh, it's not just me, it's all of you. Wow. And me, oh man, I thought it was bad before. Or bad like complicated. Oh, I don't know what to do or what to think with a lot of this. Here, Shadow's being a little purr machine. Just laying in bed trying to gather my thoughts and trying to figure out how I'm going to relate some things and how I'm going to study some things on my own. A lot of people can send out a questing thought and they'll wait. I can't wait for a hero to deliver me. Look, I honestly, genuinely believe that the Jesus mentioned in the Gospels is coming back soon. Within years. I know even Peter believed that in his lifetime. But I understand some things, and I've had a weather eye on these things for at least 40 years. It's apparent to me. But it represents another, let's factor it, a faction. It represents, and there's several. When you hear about Armageddon, you hear about many armies coming together. It's not just two armies. It's multiple factions, all at war. That's a very, very complicated war. And I know I have a part in it. I've always known for a very long time. It's kind of hard to imagine, but I can't step away from it. I can tell people about the MK Ultra program and the things that the government's done and that I absolutely know about, and they think, wow, yeah, and they hear it, and it's like, well, this guy talks about this and that, but see, it's still not real for them. It's not a part of their reality. It's something that may or may not be happening out in the shadows somewhere far, far away. It's not a part of their daily reality. There's no way I can walk away from it. No way I can look away. It's an if. It's an is. And I deal with it all the time, every day, all the time, 24/7. And you think after a while it's got to burn you out. At worst, I'd say I'm turning definitely into a pothead, but for the seizures and the shakes and the neuropathy and everything else like that, that's never, believe me, the relief. It's just hard to believe I was made to suffer for so long. But then, see, why is that hard to believe? Because, see, I exactly started out life that way. In horror, this has been hell for me. This incarnation from day one. It's been pain, it's been misery, it's been anxiety, it's been, and a lot of people complain about, geez, well, I was circumcised. Man, that was the least of my problems. But it was a good indicator of things to come, that's for sure. Well, my mouth is drying out. And I should go relieve myself and get ready to fall asleep. I know I'm drifting off. Just trying to sort my thoughts for a questing thought. As I pass into unconsciousness, which doesn't take me long, I keep in my mind and formulate the thought that I want to send out, information I want to find. I'm looking through the card catalog of the Akashic records for, and you can get real funny and woo-woo about that. But it is not a thing to be taken literal, but perceived as a generality, kind of fuzzy, like seen through a glass darkly. I'm going to sign off for the night and tend to a few health issues, check my sugar, take whatever shots I need. Actually, I think I'm good for shots for the night, but might as well check and see. I'll be giving you where's the off switch on this thing.